Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
There's just 2 rounds of the season remaining in the ARA Porsche Cup, and whilst we'll be heading to Imola next week, tonight we are at Nurburgring GP and the Sprint Strecker layout. Welcome to Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me is Aaron Smith Samuli Kumo, bringing you this stream on our YouTube channel. And Aaron, it's so far been a very competitive season, and fortunately for us, we have still got championship fights in each of the 3 driver championships, and tonight could be decisive. Tonight, an unassailable lead could be established by one of the drivers. We're going to find out after the end of the 4 races that we have tonight.
Yeah, it definitely could. We've had an amazing season so far, and I don't think that's going to change at all tonight. And even though you say, you know, it could be decisive today here at the Nurburgring, I don't think it will. I think this track is just, I don't know, this track always just provides something weird. Every single time I've been here, whether racing or commentating, something strange always happens here at the Nurburgring. I can't quite explain it. It just always happens, and I'm expecting it to happen today. When? No idea. It could happen in any one of our 4 races. But we have quite a stacked field tonight, as we so often have this season, and I can't wait. It's going to be a great round. Like you said, the championships are close in all 3 of our series, and I couldn't predict any of it. That's why this series has been so good.
It has been absolutely excellent. Let's have a look at the championship standings at the moment. And in the pros, Dalton Zavadil is in the lead of the championship. Now, these do consider the drop score out of the 6 rounds this season. Only the best 5 scores from a driver counts. And those who watched last time out may know that Pascal Costa crashed out in the A final last time out. And that was a very bad score for him. But he's just dropped that one. So it's not as penalising for him. It does put a lot of pressure on him to perform in these final 2 rounds. However, Philip Hammer, bit of a distant 3rd place. In the Pro-Ams, we've got Jan Bol at the top of the standings. However, he did lose 2 points of his championship lead to Salvatore Lane. It could have been more than that. Lane was on fantastic form back at Watkins Glen, but Bol managed to limit the damage on that occasion. And in the Amateur Championship, we've got Luke Swan, who's been leading from the outset. However, Enzo Lorenzato was on fire last time out, and he has closed the gap to just 18 points. He closes by 13 points in the last round of the championship. So I think Enzo is the one that I might be watching out for more than anyone else, honestly, and because his Watkins performance really was a surprise.
Yeah, it was, but then again, Watkins Glen, especially the layout that we used, honestly, it can provide just the weirdest of circumstances. And as we saw last week, it was just mental. Each and every single race just had something about it. And well, today's going to be the opposite. Like we were saying last week, that track was very simplified corners, a lot of slipstream. This is the exact opposite. There's going to be almost no slipstream. I guess you could say from turn 7 all the way down to the last chicane. But apart from that, it's going to be very technical corners. I think drivers are going to have to be a lot more careful than they were at Watkins Glen, as that track, the track limits are basically non-existent. Here, it's not about getting an off track. It is about going off the track. There's not really any limits to play with, to be honest. If you go a slight bit wide, it's very punishing, even in this shorter layout of the Nurburgring.
Very true. We currently got Christensen at the top of the standings. However, I don't think that is at all reflective. There's a lot of quick drivers who are yet to put in a representative lap time. It was a very competitive practice as well, and so I expect that to change a lot. Zavadil, only 4,000 clear. That demonstrates how good Christensen's time was, and he's still got another one to come. However, can he take provisional pole? He comes up short. He is ahead of his teammate Costa, however, so that's great news for Zavadil. Opportunity for him to extend his championship lead. Christensen goes back to the pits. He wasn't going to improve on that last lap. Bernardo Faria, not a good lap for him so far. I don't think this is maybe even going to be an improvement for Faria, and it's not. He's a long way off the pace. 1 second, huge gaps so far in this qualifying session. Demand moves up to 13th place. That puts him provisional pole in the AMS. However, championship leader Luke Swan might have an answer to that.
Yeah, Luke has been definitely the star of the field in the AMS. Comes across the line and does not improve on his position, so stays in 14th place. Looks like Demand is the one that's going to be getting pole in the AM Championship unless anyone else can do anything about it. Doesn't look like Jay Walsh is going to be fighting for pole this time round. But I think we've said this a couple times this season. If only Sebastian Demand was here from the start of the season, I think he would have given Luke Swan and Lorenz Otto a real good fight. But he's just going to have to pick up some scraps this season, get maybe a win or two, and just get some good results on the board and prepare himself for whenever we get this series up and running again. Peter Alf goes 21st position. He's been rather unlucky this season. At times been the quickest AM, but I think it was the first round he had problems with his wheel, and a couple rounds ago he just got absolutely punted into a wall as Demand locks up into the notorious chicane. I don't think anyone actually likes that chicane, if I'm going to be honest. I'm being so serious when I say I've never heard anyone say they like this chicane at this track. Not a single person.
It's far too narrow. It's way too narrow.
Exactly.
Reverse goes to the 21st. It is so, like, just lazy, right? Like, come on, guys. Like, they probably resurface this track every other decade, and or maybe every decade, and just reprofile that chicane. Make it a bit wider so you can probably have side-by-side racing, a bit like what you have at Abu Dhabi between the two long straights. That chicane works really well, and I would support that type of chicane being used here, but unfortunately they've stuck with that very fiddly chicane, which was barely appropriate back in the 80s, let alone in the 2020s.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the other version of the chicane, the fast one that usually gets used for the 24-hour, is better, but then it has the other problem, which it's too fast and it's still too narrow, you'd say. Can't really get two cars in there.
Off tracks as well.
Yeah, 100. I was just about to get onto that. If you do go side by side, chances are one of you or both of you is going to get the off track through there. So, and even a slowdown if you get that unlucky. So I think they kind of need to meet in the middle of both chicanes, to be honest, and also cut down on the curbs. They're way too harsh.
Yeah, I would agree. And get rid of the multiple chicanes. We just want one chicane, I think. I think no more messing about with two different chicanes. Let's just have one chicane so we know the chicane and we deal with it. Dalton Zavadil, is on pole position by 0.13 of a second. That is a very impressive qualifying time from him, ahead of Philip Hammer. Of course, this is just the odd place drivers for Heat 1 of the evening. There's Makhmutov, good qualifying for him, ahead of Plesha. There's Igor Kos, Salvatore Lane, who's got some work to do there from P6. Deman, top of the amateur drivers, ahead of Strand, Lauren Zarte. Expect him to gain a couple of places. McBride, Diverse, Bjorkland in 12th place, Walsh and Danielson. Sander Danielson making his Apex Racing League debut. Best of luck to him for this race. Top 6 get straight through into the A final.
Yeah, I think this first heat race, honestly, I think probably is going to be the calmest out of all of our races that we're going to have today. I still think that B final probably is going to be the most chaotic because it's kind of the race where no one has anything to lose. But this first heat, kind of what we've seen this season, it's always just been a bit calm. I think Zavadil, the guys up the front are probably going to be a bit chill. The only couple people who I think might be ones to watch, I think Lorenzato, potentially, because he kind of has a championship fight on his hands now in that AM championship. And also Makhmutov and Plesha up at the front for the Pro-Ams. I think they might think they have a shot at victory today.
It'd be awesome to see a Pro-Am win a race. We haven't seen it so far this season. Likes of Pascal Costa and Dalton Zavadil have very much made a residency at the top of the podium, even in the heats. But we will see if we can get a bit of an upset here for Heat 1 of the evening. The 5 lights are on, and our championship leader, Dalton Zavadil, leads us away. It's not a good start for him. He has to cover off Hammer on the inside straight away, who tucks in behind. Makhmutov might be able to have a run on the outside here. Lane looking to the inside of a couple of cars back as well. And he's now spinning around. He got a bit of contact, and he has spun the opposite way. He's turned left on a right-hander, and that has caused a mess. Danielson somehow up into 11th place. He's even got past his teammate Strand, who must have been involved in that because Strand is down. And Lane's championship hopes taking a massive hit right there. He was P2 in the Pro-Ams. He needed another good round, but it does not look like that is going to happen for him, as Bjorkland, after an underwhelming qualifying, has had a spin as well.
Yeah, that's heartbreak for the Italian, and I'm not sure who it was he made contact with into turn 1, but it's just what happens here at the Nurburgring. Everyone kind of is trying to get towards that apex as quickly as they can, and sometimes they forget that, oh dear, there are other cars around me, and Lane unfortunately was a victim of that, and I think he might be a little bit heartbroken. He kind of just stopped in the gravel for a few seconds, probably considering his life choices that led up to this exact moment, but he's towed back to the pits. And I'm not 100% sure if we'll see him again in this race, but he definitely will be a contender in the B final, at least if he chooses to take part. And we can have a look at what happens down into turn 1. Again, we can have a look who he actually made contact with. And that's Kos ahead of him. On his left, they went 3 wide.
So was it Plesha? So it was Plesha in the middle
who
made the contact, and then on the outside it was Strand. I mean, I don't know. If it's anyone's fault, I think it's Lane's fault. But I appreciate that. I don't think he's even reached the corner yet, and they're making contact. So I don't think any penalties will be given for that. It will be looked at by the stewards, as all lap 1 incidents are, along with any instance that the drivers reports as well. But I wouldn't be surprised that's just put down to a racing incident.
I'm a bit on the fence. I think if that was Plesha who was up the inside in the middle, I think that was more on him. You could kind of see there was a car on the outside. Oh dear, that's Walsh going extremely deep into the corner. And I'm slowly starting to think that Jay Walsh has a problem with his brake pedal, because we saw this a couple times at Watkins Glen, where sometimes he just forgets to brake. It's very weird. I genuinely think this man might have a brake pedal problem, because that's happened a few times where he just goes far too deep into a corner, and I don't know if it's him or maybe a hardware problem.
I mean, I think I've made that mistake myself, so I am not in a position to criticise him on that one. And unfortunately, I had no hardware failure to blame that one on. There is 0 runoff at that corner, pretty much. It's a weird one how obviously 9 times out of 10 you just hug the inside, and Sloan Zarte's got past McBride. That's a slow down, it looks like, for McBride. So very good race so far for Lauren Zarta. He's making good points at the moment, pretty much maximising his results. Yeah, it feels like there's a bit of a magnet on the wall on the outside there, and once you do lock a brake, it almost feels inevitable that you're going to hit that wall, even though most of the time you're 20 meters away from it.
Yeah, you kind of have two choices when you go too deep or lock up into that corner. You can either do the sensible thing, stop turning, try and release off the brake and go to the left, which you might be able to stop. There's a bit of runoff there. That's Jay Walsh going for another spin in the background as well. But yeah, here on the left, if you lock up, you can use that little bit of road, that tarmac on the left, to try and stop as quickly as you can. Or you can hope and pray that you might make it into the corner, as Jay Walsh hasn't done really there, grinding on the outside of the corner, and just hope that you make the corner. It's the two evils of locking up at that corner, and obviously the sensible man would think, let's go to the left and just live to fight another day, but that does cost you a huge amount of time if you do that. So about 80% of the time, drivers choose to just turn into the corner anyway, and I'd say about 70% of those times you end up hitting the wall and probably ending your race.
Getting close between Deman and Makhmutov. Makhmutov with a poor start. Got involved, I guess, with the mess with Lane, albeit I don't recall exactly what his role in all of that was, but he's got past Deman. He's up into P7, and next up for him is McBride. Deman, I think, was ahead of... well, McBride's just had an awful lap. McBride's just lost 6 seconds on that last lap. So he made a mistake at some point, and also he's just had a poor first sector of this lap. He's really struggling right now. It's the British driver, and I think Makhmutov will be past him in the time that we have remained. Still 5 minutes to go, and Makhmutov could still get back up to P4, which would be some recovery for the man who started in P3, but was outside the top 10, I think, after the first couple of corners.
Yeah, it's been a very topsy-turvy race for some of our drivers at the moment. Obviously, Zavadil, Hammer having a fantastic time up at the top, just relaxing. I don't really think we're going to see those two fight, to be honest, in this race, unless Hammer can put the foot down a little bit more, close up to the back of the American and challenge for the victory. But over the last few rounds, Zavadil has been somewhat untouchable, to be honest. I think people were starting to get scared of going wheel to wheel with him, as he is a very quick driver, and that's Makhmutov having more problems as that's going to probably be a penalty cutting across the pit exit line. But he might get away with it.
I don't think you get a penalty for that. I think it's only if you cut on the when you go into the pits. I think he'll get away with that one. But yeah, let's see what happens to him, because he was going to go for a move on the car ahead. Has the car ahead? Oh no, he has just lost it all by himself. And then maybe some netcodes. I'm not sure if that was netcode or maybe he just overheated the tyres and lost it again. But Makhmutov back down to P9. He is some 5.5 seconds away from the top 6, which is the position that at this point he will take. He would have hoped to get up to P5, maybe even P4, as Yannick Plesher has had an issue. I feel like Salvatore Lane may have taken matters into his own hands here. And
I'm scared to look at the replay.
I'm sure we will get a replay of it, but that is bad news. Very bad news for Yannick Plesher, who's hopefully can still make his way through, but here we are. And I think you can see what's happened there.
Yeah.
It's clear to see who Lane feels like should get a penalty from that lap one instead.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. I'm a bit speechless, to be honest. I don't think. I mean, here's another look at it, as you can see very clearly, trying to cut across Plesher, and then. I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I think they were both being a bit silly.
You think it wasn't intentional?
I'm not sure, because it's very...
Oh no, Plesher's gone wide again.
It's just gone wide again. But it's very difficult to 100% say to a driver, you did that intentionally, because of course only they know they did it intentionally, unless it's blaringly obvious. And with that on board, it didn't. I'd say if they were on both the same lap and I saw that on board, I'd say that was more pleasure diving up the inside more than anything.
Sure.
But
I think what will be the
don't
revealing
know.
thing will be, has Lani waited for him? Or
Yeah.
is it just a coincidence? I feel like he's probably waited for him and then caused that incident. The stewards will have a look after the evening is complete. But it has made a bizarre top 6. Zavadil, Hammer, Koss, Lorenzato with a great performance. He's up to 4th. He's holding on against McBride, who seems to have refound his confidence. He went a bit AWOL for a few laps, did McBride, but he's back there now. Deman is keeping him honest as well in P6. And then Strand, Makhmutov and Plesha, who you would have backed at the start of the race all to make it through. Maybe not Strand, but certainly Makhmutov and Plesha. They're miles back. And so that could be a very formidable 3 drivers. You make it into the B final and will very much fancy their chance of getting into the A final from there. But they're going to need to rely on someone else having an instant ahead if they're going to get straight into the A final from this race. And Strand is holding on these positions, important for point 1, and also will decide the grid as well for the B final later on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is incredible, having 3 AMs in one heat getting through. I don't think we've seen that, not just in this series, but in any other series for a long time. Not since we had at least just the pros in the AMs, I don't think. Honestly, that is very well done to Lorenzato, McBride and Deman. I mean, obviously they still need to cross the line, but for the moment anyway, it looks like they're going to get through, and that's going to be a nice chunk of points for Lorenzato as well. Remember, he's fighting Luke Swan for the championship, so keep an eye on the Australian in the second heat. But here's Dalton Zavadil, the man who's been kind of unstoppable for the last 4 rounds, once again taking victory. And Philip Hammer.
Hammer, you haven't run out of fuel, mate.
I was just thinking that. I think
no,
he's having some
us.
connection issues. Yeah, he's trolling.
Yeah.
There's Igor Koss. You had a very quiet race, up in 3rd. Fair play to the German. And here we come, the 3 AMs. Lorenzato winning in that class, way ahead of the Pro-Ams, who were 2 seconds behind this lot. They will need to be put to shame after that performance. Well, they have the chance to redeem themselves, of course, in the B final. But wow, I mean, hats off to those 3 AM drivers. So they did an absolutely fantastic job this race. And I mean, it's not something you see very often. And I think we should applaud them. Take our hats off. Take a bow for those 3 men.
I am taking a bow. People can't see it, but I am taking a bow right now for them. I mean, Strands, of course, got involved in a sort of a lap 1 slight issue. And then Makhmutov, I think, got involved in a lap 1 incident. And then, of course, went off as well later in the race in pressure with that incident with Lane. And twice, I guess, on lap 1 and later on in the race, but it was very much the later one which cost them. And they will all need to advance through the B final, which is bad news for everyone in Heat 2. They would have been hoping that they would have a weaker opposition, but instead they got particularly Makhmutov and Plesha, 2 very quick drivers, 2 drivers who qualified in the top 10 overall. Danielson, good job from him. He's on the lead lap in 13th position. Lane 1 lap down after his incidents. Let's have a look then at the race, or the Heat 2 grid. This all the drivers who qualified in even positions from the qualifying earlier on. And it's Christiansen on pole position ahead of Costa. Then it's Dimbolo, Farrier, Bowl, Walker, Swan, who wants to repeat his championship rivals Lorenzato's result from Heat 1. Van Hout, Smart, Lee, Bitteroff, Macau, Maldonado, and Bernard, the 14th driver, who has a qualifying ban, by the way. That's why he is at the back.
Yeah, that Frenchman's going to be one to watch for this entire race. And Dimbolo as well. We know how quick he is in that Pro-Am category. And, well, can any Pro-Ams get through to the A final in this race?
Exactly. It would be remarkable if they completely deserted the A final. Let's see what they do in this race as we get underway. It's a decent start for Christensen, but he's not totally clear of Costa. I think it will be enough for him to hold the lead into turn one, albeit he's leaving himself very much open, leaving the inside as Costa puts his nose on the inside there. They avoid contact, and it's still Christensen leading the way after one corner. The top five all in the same order as they started. Bernardo Farrier in that bright yellow fiercely forward livery. He's trying to make some places up right now. He makes a bit of contact with Costa, who's pushed offline. They're all really slow through this next section. There goes Dimbolo. I think he might get past Costa, but he spins it himself. Abrasive action for many of the drivers. However, Bitsoff gets involved. Lee may have got involved. I think Walker maybe has had an issue at the next corner. And it means that Farrier was able to move up into third place, and Costa held on to second.
I did think that Dimbolo was maybe pushing the car a little bit too much over those first few corners. And, you know, these tyres, when they're cold in this car specifically, it is a deadly combination. And Dimbolo found out just that. I don't think there was contact. I think Dimbolo just went for a spin all by himself, trying to get a better exit than Costa. He was nearly in second place, and that is a very poorly damaged Porsche Cup car. And, well, this is going to be a testament of car control for Lee, trying desperately to make it back to the pits. Can he keep it in a straight line? No, he can't. Sent round, and that rear suspension, yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of Lee for the rest of this race. That is a very poorly Porsche Cup car, and, well, he's going to have to... He's still trying, to be fair play to the man. He's desperately trying to get it back to the pits. And that's Kieran Smott going far too deep into turn one.
I think he went for a move on Swan and just locked up and just went straight on. So we'll get a replay of that, I imagine. But that's not good for Smart. It's put him only just ahead of his fellow countryman Brian Walker now. Still up one place from his race start. Bernard, after not being banned from qualifying, up 7 places. Phenomenal start for Bernard. I don't think he's, no disrespect to him, I don't think he's done anything particularly spectacular. Oh, you know what? He didn't even go for a move, did Smart. He's just
messed that up.
Not anticipated where Swan was going to brake and had to turn left into a right-hander to avoid contact.
Well, at least he sacrificed himself. A lot of other drivers would have just said, oh, well, I'm taking you with me. And, well, very good avoiding action there for Kieran Smart. But, like you said, it has cost him a huge amount of time, and he's down in 8th, 3 seconds off of Bernard, who, like we said, has had a great start, but like you said, it was just avoiding everyone else from spinning and crashing and making very silly decisions on that first lap. And honestly, half the time, starting from the pit lane or starting from the back in these races is not a terrible idea, to be honest. You are going to gain a lot of places and you have a better chance of surviving. But that's not always the case. If there's a huge lap one pile up, then yeah, you can say goodbye to your race, to be honest. But Bernard's doing very well at the moment, and only 1 place off of that crucial top 6 spot. And crucially as well is Luke Swan ahead of him. And Swan, after watching that first race, seeing Lorenzato get 4th, well, that gap is coming down and down in the championship every single race. And Luke Swan, if he finishes 6th or 7th, that's more points gone. And if in 7th, he's going to be in tears. He's got another race to do. And the B final, as we all know, is not a guarantee. Not at all, especially with a lot of very fast pro-ams in it at the moment.
Yeah, you need to get through the heat if you possibly can. You do not want to be involved in having to race with some of the drivers who are already lined up for that B final. So this is very important for Luke Swan's championship. Dimbolo has got past Michaud. Michaud, that is how you pronounce his name. Apologies, I got that wrong on the grid earlier on. But they're still alongside. As Farrier as well has got past Costa. I think Costa's made a mistake. Let's see what happens with this battle. They're going to try to go side by side. And, well, maybe that chicane is well enough, because that was some very clean racing between the pair. Dimbolo is still working at this one. They're catching up rapidly to Walker, who must have made a mistake just in front of them at the chicane. And still, he cannot get clear, can either of these drivers. It's all going on for that battle for second place, as Costa's had a real setback now. He has to stop, and he's outside the top 6 now as well. Pascal Costa, second place in the championship. with another mistake similar to what we saw at Watkins Glen, and I do not know what was going on between him and Farrier.
No, and it really does seem like Pascal Costa, after winning the first few rounds. I mean, let's remember, Farrier is Zavadil's teammate. I'm just saying. Oh.
Can we get
I don't know.
Well, could we go back to the earlier overtake between the two?
Yeah.
I think they changed positions at the final corner, maybe previous. And yeah, maybe get a chopper view, because I'm not entirely sure if that was Costa trying to escort Farrier to the outside there by not turning in, or whether that was Farrier just pitching him.
Well, let's take a look. I mean, that entire sequence that we just watched looked very suspect to me, but here's initially what happened. Was it a mistake from Costa? Looks a bit deep.
I think that's a slow down
corner
there, right? Oh, no, it's just...
No, he just goes for a little spin. Then surely does he try and block him into the last corner a little bit?
Good move there.
No contact was made. Yeah, it was a good move from Farrier. And then this is where I believe what we just watched happened. Coming down the straight, you can see Farrier moving over. A little bit of contact between them two. They're both being a bit silly down that straight, to be honest. Then into turn one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that was who will get the blame for that one. I know it might look a bit obvious, like, oh, of course that's Farrier's fault. He's pitched above, so you got to turn into the corner eventually. And Costa's not exactly giving a whole lot of space to the side either. I think before that it was probably Costa's fight. It looked like it was Costa who blocked into the final corner and also was moving more down the straight as well. So I'm sure he'll disagree with that. It'll be down to the stewards post-race to decide the blame on that one. But it's 2.3 seconds now that he's going to make up on Luke Swan before the end of this race. Now, he is about a second a lap faster, so it will be very close to see if he can catch up. We've got 2 more laps to go at the conclusion of this one.
Yeah, Luke Swan is going to be clawing at the back of Ethan Bernard's car, desperate for that slipstream, because although Costa might be able to catch up, if he can't get anywhere close to him in a straight line, it's not really going to be much that he can do, to be honest. And it's, like you said, it's going to be very, very close between those two. And very interesting for both of them, both of their sakes. Luke Swan obviously trying to fight for his AM championship. Pascal Costa trying to limit the damage of his. And honestly, that move between Costa and Farrier could have decided that pro championship. It honestly could, because of how consistent you need to be, how consistent Costa was at the start of this season and how consistent Zavadil is now. It just goes to show you've just got to be up there finishing consistently, and these last 2 races Costa hasn't done that, whether it's his fault or not. That's just how it's been. And like I really don't know whose fault that was. I think Costa kind of tried to do what Rosberg did to Hamilton
that's
in Austria. Like, he technically is allowed to do that. Like, he was trying to brake deep and turn in late to force Farrier to go wide. And you're allowed to do that, but it's not very sportsmanlike. And you're probably going to get the blame. So, I don't know. I mean, some people are going to say Farrier turned in and, you know, Costa was in the middle of the track, so it's on Farrier. We'll leave the stewards to it. They know what they're doing. They can decide each other's fate, and it's a very tricky one. But the only thing that some people might seem suspect is the fact that Farrier is Zavadil's teammate, sorry. So, a bit of drama. Don't know.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Of course, welcome to everyone in the YouTube chat as well. Posh Pinguino around, Nick DeBeck, Nikolai Agard and Simon Livingston as well, supporting Racing Lab Esports earlier on. Let us know, who you are supporting as well. Anyone else who is watching along. But we are in the final lap of the race now. Christensen looks dominant, 3.8 seconds clear. Great performance from Roger Christensen, former champion of the season at this series, I think back in season 4, which was a couple of years ago now. Also, great result, by the way, for Fastlane. You can see their similar liveries in 4th and 5th. But here comes Costa. He has caught to the back of Swan. Swan really wants to get through, though, and Costa's going to have to go the long way around. I it's such an elongated route here. I'm not sure if he'll be able to make it, but he is still partial alongside. Swan cuts him off, however, and Costa is running out of corners. Just 3 to go after this one.
Yeah, this should be an absolutely fantastic end between these two. And, well, Luke Swan knows he's not quicker than Pascal Costa, but by all means, he's going to try and defend this position anyway. And honestly, I don't know what line you defend into this corner. Do you defend the inside, but then be a bit weak if Costa can hang it around the outside? But Luke Swan gets a tap, and there's contact between the two drivers.
Where's Smart? Where's Smart?
And Smart comes on straight through. Is Costa going to have enough brute force down the inside? He's not. So Costa and Swan, and that is huge for Swan, bear in mind. And
yeah.
I believe someone behind us just gone for a spin. I think that's Ryan Walker. But Kieran Smart, out of nowhere, has just magically made his way into the A final straight away. So in that first race, we had no pro-ams. This time we had no AMs. All because of Pascal Costa and Luke Swan making contact. I think Luke was being a bit aggressive on that defense, but
yeah,
I mean, wow. Oh yeah, Christensen won, by the way.
I think Costa always had part of his car alongside, and so I don't think Swan can complain about that one. Again, from the onboard, it looks like it was all Costa's fault, but you know, if you're alongside, you're allowed to keep your nose in there. And we said how narrow that chicane is, and it is a silly chicane, but in the end, you just got to leave the space. So of course the offboard would be more revealing on that, and I'm sure that will be what the stewards have a look at, as an absolutely stacked B final is coming up. Probably the most stacked B final we've had all season. It's Strand ahead of Costa, Makhmutov, Dimbolo, Plesher. That's an insane top 5. Mishaw, Bjorkland, Bitsroff, Walsh. Swan will be trying to get into the top 3. Diverst, Walker with an awful end to that last race. Danielson, Maldonado, Lane is taking to the grid. And Jai Yufei Lee, a pro driver at the back. I mean, there's going to be some big names who don't get into the A final.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the biggest B final we're going to have all season. There's no doubt about it. We're not going to get better than this. Like 3 championship contenders in this one B final? That is insane.
Let's find out who can make the cut. It's the top 3 who will move into the A final. Strand leads us away. Costa with a decent start again, but he won't be able to get past Makhmutov, looking competitive on the outside. Bjorkland in the middle of the circuit. Dimbolo playing his card to the inside. Can Makhmutov do anything on the outside there against Costa? Looks like he'll just have to settle in for P3. Dimbolo trying to get involved as well, as it's a cleaner start through turn 1, at least in what we've seen so far. But there goes Costa on the inside. He's managed to get past Strand. It looks like he'll keep his nose in there. Costa's got to leave him space around this next corner. But if Costa can punch out of this corner, but he's not able to, as Mishaw spins off into the barrier in the background. That's bad news for him, and Costa could not get that move complete. So it's now Makhmutov who's now back on the attack from P3, and Strand still leads the way after half a lap.
Well, no matter how much quicker Pascal Costa is than the rest of the drivers on this grid, he has gotten the lead. That was a nice overtake there down into turn 7 from Pascal Costa, and well, he's probably just going to run away with it now. I don't think anyone is going to argue with that one. So it's basically just 2nd and 3rd that's up for grabs now. Dimbolo's already up to 3rd. Good start from him from 4th. And what can he do? Now, Dimbolo, one of the quicker drivers as well on this grid that we have. Strand is going to be under a loss of pressure down into turn 1. And Makhmutov, Plesher, Beta Alf, Swan as well. Lane coming through the field. Honestly, this is going to be a very, very good next 12-odd minutes. Makhmutov on the back of Dimbolo. Dimbolo going to be on the back of someone. And who's that spinning? On the main straight at the back. I think that's Danielson, potentially. As into turn 1 we go. Dimbolo getting very close to Strand. I don't know if that was contact.
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Either that or that was netcode. It looked very iffy. It kind of looked like Dimbolo might have given him a tap. But that is going to be something we're going to have to take a second look at. I'm not quite sure if this was contact. It didn't look like Dimbolo was trying to go for the move, but just scare Strand. And no,
all on the traction.
It was just,
all on the traction.
Such a shame.
Yeah, frustrating for Strand. I mean, it would have been a hard task to be able to get into the top 3 anyway. But that's opened the door for Dimblo to get past Makhmutov on lap 1. So it's Costa, Dimblo and Makhmutov, the drivers who would get through at the moment. Plesher in 4th place, Bitterov doing really well. He's keeping tabs in 5th. Swan up 4 places into 6th. Then it's Bjorklund, Walker, Lee could still get through, but I don't think Lee's really necessarily prepped too much for this round. In qualifying, he really struggled. So whilst he is a pro driver, I don't think he's necessarily got the pace he needs. There's Bjorklund taking an alternative line. Yeah, he outbroke himself. Bjorklund, he has had to cut the chicane. You can see that from a while back. Lee is though making his way past. He's got past Walker there, and of course he now gets past Bjorklund as well. So Lee up to 7th. He's up 9 places from his race start.
Yeah, Lee, who's maybe lacked a little bit of pace this season, is doing very well at the moment in 7th. And, well, can he make any more progression in this race? But honestly, the top 6 is where it is at. As Bitarov tries to go for 4th place, I think he might have outbroke himself just a tiny bit, as Plesher's going to have the inside line for this next corner. If Bitarov can hang it around the outside through this next corner, though, he's going to have a chance at an overtake. Now it turns to the inside, and Bitarov might have just gotten this place, and Lee has gone for a spin in the background. Unfortunate for him, all the way down to now 13th place. That's going to be him out of it, as Bitarov still up the inside of Plesher. This is a great battle for 4th place as they bang wheels, bang doors into this next section. Bitarov around the outside. That is a great overtake from Bitarov, and that goes to show that he is a fighter. He can race. He has been fantastic when it's mattered. But just the luck has not been on his side this season. So if we do another season and he signs up, watch out for Bitarov. Maybe his luck will turn at some point, but he's got a long way to 3rd place now. It's over 2.5 seconds. And honestly, that top 3, considering that those top 3 you would say are the quickest on track, I don't think that's going to change.
I think on paper you would say that they would get through, those 3. Because Seth asking in chat how many go through. It is the top 3 who go through. And whilst Bitarov lost a lot of time in that battle, and you might go, whoa, he lost time, he shouldn't be fighting. It was a necessary move, I think, for Bitarov with the way that this circuit works. Got to get yourself into clean air. Hopefully for him, the drivers behind will start fighting. Talking of fighting, Asatoy Lane has caught up to these drivers. We haven't really spoken about him in this B final, but he is up 7 places himself. And maybe if anyone's going to catch up to the top 3, perhaps it's going to be this one. Even though he hasn't got track position, he would probably be the fastest out of these 5 drivers. But I think, honestly, if Paddy Powder are doing bets on this, I think this top 3 would have a good 80% chance of making their way through.
Oh yeah, if you bet a $5 on this, you'd probably get about £5.50 back, to be honest. It's kind of dead set at the moment. As you would say, Costa's quicker than Dimbolo, Dimbolo's quicker than Makhmutov. So it's probably going to finish like that top 3, as boring as it is to say. It probably is. So it's just going to be a complete scrap for the rest of the grid now, and just getting those final few points. I like how at the start of this broadcast as well, you said that it could, like the championships could be done and dusted here. And I thought the opposite. I was optimistic, as Dimbolo taking an interesting line through the final corner. Well, let's just review all 3 of our championships, shall we? So pros. Zavadil taking an easy victory. Pascal Costa not even making it through in his heat. So you would say Zavadil is definitely the championship favourite now. Pro-Am. Well, Lane had an interesting heat, to say the least, and is in 8th in this B final, but let's be honest, probably isn't going to make it through. And in the AMs, I mean, Luke Swan has not had a horrible day considering he is an AM, but in terms of the championship and comparing himself to Lorenzato, that's another spin for Lane in the background, by the way, you would say that Lorenzato probably could take the lead of the AM championship. So I think you were right at the start, Sam, by saying it could be done and dusted here, because at least 2 of the championships, the Pro and the Pro-Am, it definitely is looking that way.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and mathematically they can wrap it up in this round because of the drop score. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the position would be for Zavadil, and I think it would come down to what the result would be in the A final, obviously. I mean, Costa could start score Zavadil across tonight if Zavadil finishes last in the A final and Costa wins this race and wins the A final. But yeah, most likely he will be well clear and perhaps have the championship mathematically sewn up. That won't happen in the pro-ams. Bowl will not have it mathematically wrapped up tonight, I think, as there's an inside move for Luke Swan trying to get past Yannick Plescher, who looks so good in qualifying and his heat. Hasn't quite come to fruition in the B final. He's been dropping down, but Ryan Walker might go 3 wide. Decides not to. Going to play this one a bit more passively, does Walker. Is anyone going to outbreak themselves into the hairpin? Nice move there from Luke Swan. Walker actually positioning his car pretty nicely. They're able to get his nose ahead of Plescher for a split second before the Swiss driver re-establishes that 6th place. Back on the inside comes Walker. And because he will have the outside for this next corner, but he can carry so much more speed on the outside, but Walker sort of half attempting a cut back there. Did not work out, and the positions, the only change there, Swan up into P5. And of course, whilst he may not get into the A final, Swan, any points he can get in this B final will be much appreciated.
Yeah, 100%. And if he can catch up to Peter Alf and get 4th place, that's still going to be a lovely chunk of points for him. But obviously, he would rather be in that A final, competing with Lorenzato. And who knows, Lorenzato could have a terrible A final. Who knows? I mean, anything can happen in this series, as we've seen so far this season. And you would say at the moment that Luke Swan is looking the quicker out of the 2 amps that are fighting for that top 5, as Dewhurst and Strand going wheel to wheel into that final chicane. Strand giving him a little bit of a love tap on the exit. Strand's definitely looking like he's going to get this position sewn up on the exit of this last corner. And I wouldn't expect Dewhurst to fight this one too hard. But, I mean, what do I know? I've said this many, many times across this season. And then a driver goes and fights anyway. But it looks like Strand should be able to hold on to that 10th place. Dewhurst trying to pull out, but nothing doing there. Just a little bit too far back. But that position for 4th is going to be, well, potentially championship defining for Luke Swan. As, you know, every single point counts. It looks like it's going to be super, super close between Luke Swan and Lorenzato at the end of this season. So this could be it for Luke Swan. He's got to make this 4th place count, romp off into the distance, and just limit the damage.
Yep, he was willing to get his elbows out against Plescher, so I expect no difference with Bitsurov. He's just a few tenths of a second ahead of him now. By the way, quick shout out to one of the sponsors for this series, VRS, because the VRS summer sale is currently going on. You can get discounts on VRS products over at apexracingsim.com. Do check out apexracingsim.com in order to check out VRS equipment with those big discounts, particularly when you buy multiple products in one go, but also Cube Controls and Husinkveld Engineering pedals as well, which you can purchase. So do check out apexracingsim.com for more details on that. If you're looking for a sim racing hardware upgrade, Swan came very close through the chicane. This is probably going to be his best chance into the hairpin. Bit of defending clean air, one could argue, but with only 3 laps to go of the race, that was perhaps a wise decision.
Yeah, you also saw Luke Swan being very, very passive into that chicane. I wonder why. I'm not quite sure, but he just looked very timid going side by side with Peter Alf through there. I wonder if he maybe is getting some PTSD from his heat. Not quite sure, but definitely taking the easier approach this time round as Makamutov.
No. That's a hardware failure for Dimbolo. Wow, well, anyone who bet against me on Paddy Power there, you're winning some nice money. Joseph Dimbolo, it's a complete hardware failure there. I wonder if you could ride on board with them, because it must just jolt to the...
That's heartbreaking.
Fossel has pointed down, but he's clearly applied the brakes in order to counteract it. Oh man. Well, how about this? Here we go with the replay again.
Oh, why do I have the sneaky suspicion he has Fanatec gear? Because that exact thing has happened to me before, and it is heartbreaking. and he's towed back to the pits all the way in 15th place. So, wow, this battle that I was saying was for some good points has completely changed, as now it's for the A final, Peter Alf or Luke Swan. And I said it would be championship defining. Well, it is. Quite literally now, Luke Swan has to make this one count, along with Pleasure, Walker, potentially Lane. Honestly, this has completely opened up for about 4 or 5 drivers, and I wonder how high all of these drivers' heart rates are. I cannot imagine. Luke Swan especially, he's going to be tired of seeing Peter Alf's rear bumper. He needs to make this move count. This is going to be the second to last lap as well, trying to go for a move down the inside. They need to make sure they do not make contact. The last thing Luke Swan needs is a penalty this late into the season while he's fighting for a championship. And wow, we've got one more lap between about 4 or 5 cars to decide one place in the A final.
Look at the YouTube chat, Aaron.
I will be looking at the YouTube channel.
Luke Swan, I'll commentate on Luke Swan, trying to get past Peter Alf. He's a little bit slow going into the final corner. Lane had a great chance, but I think Lane somehow managed to cut turn 1 and got a slowdown. But we've got one more lap to go. Costa way out in the lead, Macbito second place. But this is so big for Luke Swan. If he can get into the A final, so many more positions could come his way. Peter Alf with a late block on the inside. Swan has to go to the outside. Here comes Pleasure. I don't think Pleasure will even get that one stopped. It might be an opportunity to Walker. As wide goes Peter Alf. Wide goes Peter Alf. And Swan has gone through. Walker spins as well, just as the opportunity looked like it might open for him. But Peter Alf has committed an unforced error right there. He has outbroken himself into T1, and he has waved on past Luke Swan into a crucial 3rd position.
I did check the chat, and I was right. Shock. But yeah, here we go into turn 1. It looked like a bit of a late one for both Pleasure and Peter Alf, and they both just go on. And Walker, I don't know if that was contact or just by himself.
I think wheel spin.
Yeah, potentially. And that's Lane trying to get involved as well, just behind Pleasure. But it's Luke Swan has kind of shot off into the distance. Unless Peter Alf goes for an absolute send, I think that is 3rd place wrapped up nicely, as Pascal Costa has no idea what's just happened behind him. Probably taking the easiest win of his entire life, as he will have the preferable grid position out of all 3 of these drivers, as Luke Swan has got some defending to do as Makamutov crosses the line in 2nd place. But I think Luke Swan is just about going to be okay, and he will make it through to the A final. And that has just about kept his championship hopes alive. And Lane, has he run out of fuel?
I think Lane and Pleasure, I think, I'd love to get a replay of it. I think they made contact
again
on the chicane. Now that you say that, Aaron, it makes a lot of sense. So maybe they didn't make contact, but I think they both got a slowdown. So Pleasure served his one there. Lane is going to wait a bit longer to serve his, and I'm not sure if he even served his, Lane, because the line came up pretty much as he accelerated, so and he just about beats Bjorklund. So to be fair, there wasn't contact, but I think they both cut the chicane and got a slowdown.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very strange last few corners between especially Pleasure and Lane. They've had quite a day, you could put it that way. But wow, that's, I mean, I did say the B final would be mental, and it was. I mean, Luke Swan, that has, in my opinion, saved his championship. I don't think if he hadn't made it through, I think Lorenzato probably would have taken the lead in the championship and probably run away with it, to be honest. I honestly think that's kept Luke Swan in it. And this A final between Luke Swan and Lorenzato. Lorenzato is going to be the furthest up in the AMs.
Yeah,
Luke Swan the furthest down. Yeah, Lorenzato is going to have a great day, potentially. I might have just jinxed him.
Well, yeah, it's so much up for grabs. Like all of a sudden now, Lorenzato might lose points to Swan in the A final. So yeah, that is absolutely more on. And yeah, the Pro-Am's probably a bit more settled with Bowl, of course, and Costa with a small chance, but he really needs to hope that something happens to Zavadil as well. Of course, another shout out as well to the title sponsor for this series, Apex Racing Academy. If you want to get setups and track guides and data packs for many different cars on iRacing, whether that be GTs, tin tops, single seaters, touring cars, prototypes, rallycross cars, it's all covered over on apexracingac.com. Get yourself a bronze, silver or gold membership, and you can get faster in a car similar to this Porsche Cup as well. We've got weekly group coaching sessions as well, which are part of your subscription. Coaches always on hand to answer any questions you have about the car. So it's a really good way to get up to speed in iRacing in a variety of different categories. So do check out apexracingac.com in order to get a subscription. But after a fairly dull Heat 1, I think obviously there was some controversy there, Aaron, as well. I think that B final was as competitive as we could have hoped, and that 5-car pack as well, which pretty much lasted from the start of the race to the end of the race, I think was really good to see the racing between the lot of them.
Well, I'm going to use the most British term to describe it. It was absolutely cracking. It was great fun to watch all of those cars go racing for basically 14 minutes straight, and they mostly kept it clean until they realized, oh my god, we can make it through to the A final. And then I kind of think they all had a bit of a panic attack and realized, oh, this is huge now. And yeah, they all made mistakes. Some of them made contact, and yeah, kind of ended on a bit of a sour note, you'd say. But either way, it was fantastic fun to watch. And what on earth is this A final going to produce? We've got, you know, Costa at the bottom making his way through, Makamutov and Luke Swan obviously going to try and claw back some points. What can Zavadil do at the top as usual? Is he going to take another win? Crucial for his championship hopes. What can Philip Hammer, Christensen do? Christensen looked really good in his heat, so could he be the only one to challenge Zavadil? I think the gap between those two in qualifying was about 0.004 of a second, so we could, for once, have a fight for the win on our hands.
Yeah, let's hope for that. I think the start will be really imperative for Christensen. I don't think he'll be able to get past if he doesn't get past at the start, but hopefully he'll prove me wrong. And hopefully he gets a race lead anyway, because we want this Pro Championship to come down to the wire. But if Dalton Zavadil can convert this pole position, he will be near uncatchable in the championship. Alongside him, Roger Christensen, the former champion in this series. Then last season's champion, Philip Hammer, lines up in third place. Then it's Bernardo Faria, Igor Kos, Jan Bol, Enzo Lorenzate, Guillaume Van Hout, Matthew McBride, Ethan Bernard, Sebastian Deman, Kieran Smart, Pascal Costa, Damir Makhmutov and Luke Swan. In the end, a very competitive top 15, but it did not look like many of our most competitive drivers would get through. We are missing Salvatore Lane, but most of the rest have been able to get their way into this 15-car finale. Zavadil needs to nail the start. Christensen, can he get ahead from the launch? It's a better start for Christensen. Has he got part of his car alongside? I think Dalton Zavadil is going to be able to cover off the inside. That is what he does. Round the outside, he gets his nose ahead for a moment, does Christensen, but it might not be any longer than that because the Fiercely Forward car covers him off. Still partially alongside is Christensen. He knows how important this first sector of this lap 1 is, and the top two are alongside as they go into the long left. Next will be the right. Again, Christensen nudging his way ahead, and he could get more power, but he runs slightly wide, and he may have to look more behind him rather than in front, because it's Bernardo Faria who's had a strong start from 4th position, who might be able to make it a Fiercely Forward 1-2 as they go through the cut through, and they'll continue battling through the left and right coming up.
Well, I mean, Faria did some absolutely amazing team games at Watkins Glen, and he's gotten into 2nd place. And will he do it again? Is he just going to hold everyone up and potentially let Zavadil run away with it? It's going to be pretty much a repeat of Watkins Glen, but even this time it's much harder to overtake as Faria placing his car in the center of the track to make sure that Christensen doesn't get past. The Norwegian is going to have to find a way past, but that's a spin. he's just about managed to catch the car. And that's Philip Hammer going on through into third place. And, well, you can see the frustration clearly getting to Christensen, falling back to third and now fourth, spinning up the rear wheels, coming out of that chicane. And now it's just made his life even more harder, I guess you could say. I don't know the English, but Farrier, brilliant team game from the fiercely forward cars. And, well, it looks like we were going to have a fight for the lead. And now Zavadil is probably going to run away with it again.
Looks that way. I don't think Christensen did a whole lot wrong. He maybe just overshot it a bit through this right-hander, but even had he nailed it, I think he would have struggled to get past it. It was all decisive in that first sector, and it was great racing between the pair of them with the positioning of their cars. Lorenzato, yeah, behind Swan now, remarkably. So massive change in the AM Championship as Lorenzato gone wide again, and Sebastian Deman is a very quick driver as well. He might be able to make his way past. So yeah, it'd be great to see a replay of what happened to Lorenzato at the start of this race, but everyone's staying very much in a queue besides Makhmutov, who's 11 seconds off the back of the field.
No idea what happened to Makhmutov. He's just absolutely disappeared off the face of the earth, but Lorenzato has had a tragic start. He was in 7th, and now, like you said, is behind his championship rival as Deman goes very deep into the last chicane, and he will fall a couple seconds behind. But Lorenzato now has a huge task on his hand to try and catch up to the cars ahead and, well, make sure that Luke Swan doesn't outscore him, which obviously at the moment he is. And this is going to make the championship between these two incredibly close. And I think at the moment, Luke Swan would still have the lead. I think. I really do not know what happened.
I think he
to
would.
Lorenzato, because I don't think he made contact with anyone. I just think he was just slow.
Costa, he has not been slow. He's now 5 places from his race start. Next up for him is Jan Bol, his teammate. Now these guys did... Well, they're both going for the championship, aren't they? So they can't really pull any team games. We did see some team games from some of the drivers in the last round of the championship, I believe. Yeah, I think Costa's probably just going to be waved on past by Bol. Then he'll have Van Hout. So, yeah, maybe top 5 on the cards here for Pascal Costa, which will be damage limitation, but realistically he needed to be outscoring Dalton Zavadil tonight, and he can barely see that yellow car ahead of him. 6 cars between him and his championship rival.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's
oh, slow down,
quote,
Christensen.
Oh, yeah, that's wow. This has been a tragic race start for Christensen, and he nearly goes into the back of Jan Bol, still serving his slowdown. It is very punishing through that chicane, and I think we were talking about it earlier on. And not only do you have it in the fast layout, but even this short layout where you'd think, oh, that chicane is too tight to have any off-tracks or slowdowns. There goes Costa up the inside of Jan Bol. Didn't think they'd fight for too long, but Christensen, going from a potential race contender in this race to, you know, on the brink of the top 10 as Lorenzato's race getting even worse. And, well, honestly, Luke Swan is probably going to outscore him today, which I did not think I'd be saying about 10 or 15 minutes ago.
Well, in the A final he'll outscore him. I think when it comes to the heats, I think it will be enough for Lorenzato to still outscore. But I think the gap was 18 points going into this round. I think after tonight, it'll probably be about 14. So, like, good work there from Swan. It would need to be a bad final round. Like, you can afford to be beaten by Lorenzato if the results stay like this in the final round of the championship. And, of course, that instance, or that hardware failure, Fanatec basically, very much helping him to do that, because Joseph Dimblay would undoubtedly have converted a top 3 result in the B final, and Swan would not even be in this race, but here he is, up 3 places from his race start.
It's very weird talking about Fanatec after everything that's happened with them over the last few years, and of course over the last few weeks. It's very, very, very weird, very tragic what's happened to them basically ever since COVID. But oh well, sometimes things don't always work out. But I mean, half the grid, maybe even more, are probably using Fanatec gear. Let's be honest. As Costa trying to overtake Van Hut, this will be for 5th place, like you said, Sam. This is probably where he's going to be in terms of his finishing position up the inside of the Belgian driver, and that should probably be the end of his overtaking. Potentially could also get Kos as well. He's actually not that far off the lead of the race, so I mean, I'm not saying anything, but potentially, if he sets world records in that Porsche Cup round here, it could be on. I don't know, because Zavadil's not exactly that much quicker. I mean, on that last lap, of course, he was a few tenths quicker, but Costa is going through traffic, so in clean air, what can the Portuguese driver do?
Yeah, we'll be interested to see what pace he has available tonight. Zavadil, I imagine as well, may not be pushing 100% either, though, with his teammate Faria behind him and with a comfortable gap as well. Hammer is doing a good job though at staying very close to Faria. But Hammer, oh, huge slide there for Costa. I think he was in control of it all the way, but that is going to lose him a couple of tenths of a second and won't help the heat in his tyres either. As we look back with Guillaume Van Hout, having a lot of pressure being exerted on by Jan Bol. He does need to think about the championship here. With Lani not in the A final, Bol will move well clear in the championship fights. Makhmutov was 3rd place as well in the Pro-Ams going into this round, and he's currently 15th in this race. And Matt Strand was in 4th place. He didn't get into the A final either, so he will just extend his lead almost whatever happens here for Jan Bol. So there's no point in taking too many risks. He's going to go on the outside though, trying to get past Van Hout. Christensen recovering some of the positions that he lost earlier on, but for now there's no changes amongst these 4.
You would expect Christensen to probably get past both of these guys within the next few laps, and then potentially Christensen might be able to catch up to the train ahead, but I doubt it. Christensen is probably the 2nd quickest man tonight, but I think his confidence probably has taken a knock this race. It's really not been good for the Norwegian at all. As Bolps, it's weird. You kind of think he might try and go for a move, but like you said, got a championship to think about. He's got a good run on Van Hut, to be fair, down the inside into this last corner. Could this be 6th place and the lead in the Pro-Am standings at the moment? And this will be an even bigger boost to his championship challenge. He's going to have the inside line as we head into turn 1. Yes, you could kind of see that one coming. Christensen probably is going to go right up the inside. Jan Bol backs out of that one. Interestingly, they need to be careful. That was very close. Bit of contact there between Christensen and Van Hut. And this is getting a little bit too close for comfort, if I'm being honest. Christensen really wants to get past, and Van Hut really doesn't want him to get past, as Jan Bol trying to get involved, but lose a place to Bernard now as well. That really hurt. Jan Bol's gone from 6th to 9th place, now back ahead of Bernard. Christensen still trying to get ahead of Van Hut. I think he's finally done it now. It just goes to show how difficult it is to overtake around here. And Jan Bol now trying to do a bit of contact there with Bernard.
I feel like Bernard just lost it by himself. Maybe it was netcode, but I think Bernard was a little bit behind. I think Bol did hit Van Hout, but I think Bernard just lost it by himself there. So mistake from him, and it's invited Kieran Smart as well to the back of him. Wipers being operated there for Jan Bol as they continue to fight for the Pro-Am lead. I'm not a fan of this circuit by any means. I think it gets rid of all the best corners on this track. I think the 3 best corners are the downhill chicane and Dunlop and then the Schumacher S. However, I think some of the battling we've had through that first section of the lap where you can go side by side, corner after corner after corner, almost Kota 3rd sector-esque, has really been very entertaining to watch. And sometimes a driver's able to get ahead, sometimes they're not. It's really unclear what the best line through there is. Barrier has had an issue, maybe a slowdown. He could have cut turn 1. A huge slowdown if that is the case, because he's still going slowly. Yeah, it's more than a slowdown, looks like. Yeah, that's either hardware or weirdly fuel.
Or maybe even connection.
Oh, he's gone.
No, he's back. I'm not quite sure what's happened with Farrier there. Either that's the harshest slowdown I've ever seen in my entire life.
Cuts your internet.
I don't understand.
You are 2 centimeters wide, mate.
I think that's what iRacing wants their slowdowns to be, but no, he's just pulled up. That's definitely, I'd say, hardware related. 100%. I don't think that's a slowdown. And well, that's
Oh, he can't change gears.
Gears. Yeah, that's gearing related. And that's unfortunate for Farrier, who was dropping off quite a lot from Zavadil, admittedly, as he just could not keep up with his teammate. As, by the way, Pascal Costa has set the fastest lap of the race. He was 0.3 quicker than Zavadil on that last lap, as Igor Kos now has had a slowdown, I'm guessing, and that's put Costa into 3rd place.
And Costa will be let past by Hammer as well.
Yes.
As their teammates.
Well,
So,
this just got
what a
interesting.
comeback from Costa. Van Hout has got past Bowl as well. Well, they're still battling that. I mean, that's just gone one way and the other. So Van Hout, if anything, staying ahead of Bowl. I think Bowl may have got his nose ahead for a moment. But, I mean, Costa will still be... Oh, contact between the two there. Come on, guys. Costa will still be a fair bit behind in the championship from Zavadil. But I don't think Zavadil will have it mathematically wrapped up if Costa gets 2nd place, which he will do because Hammer will just let him first. So, what a good comeback from Costa. It will be up 11 places by the end of the race.
I believe he is the only man, I could be wrong, but of the entire day during the race to go into the 28th. So he's pushing. I think on that last lap he did have a bit of an issue getting past Farrier, as Farrier has now gone into the pits. And, well, he's done his job for his teammate at least, created a nice gap between Zavadil and Hammer. So Zavadil can kind of cruise over these next 5 minutes. He could lose a few tenths a lap and not really care, to be honest. He's probably going to end up getting that victory. But Costa, he's probably going to be pushing. Not because he thinks he's going to catch up or anything, but just to kind of prove a point, as Jan Bol and Van Hert still battling. This has been a great battle between these two, I've got to say. They've been fair, I'd say. Bit of argy-bargy between the two, as Jan Bol is now the driver ahead. Is Van Hertz going to try and go up the inside? Gave him a little bit of a bunt draft, and now he goes up the inside into turn 1. Bit deep there from Van Hert, it looked like. Trying to get the cutback is Jan Bol. Couldn't quite do it, though. This is just going to go on until the end of the race. And, well, as Jan Bol's taking a big risk doing this. He doesn't need to do this, but it is a few extra points in the championship that I think he'll solemnly want to try and wrap up this Pro-Am championship as quickly as possible for him.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit personal as well now. They've both invested so much thought, power and energy into this fight, and they really want to come out on top in it. What could really help Van Hout though here is the fact that he's got his teammate Bernard coming up to the back of them, and if Bernard can get ahead of Bowl, then that would be a huge stress reliever on his teammate. Behind them, Smart in 9th place, and Swan has caught up to these guys. Lonzato in a distant 14th. He's really struggled in this A final for some reason, as Lonzato. So he will not be scoring many points whatsoever. And Swan could still gain a few more. You certainly wouldn't expect him to lose any places. However, might lose a place. Could be Jan Bol, because Bernard is getting closer and closer. Just as I say that though, Bol was able to gain about a car length on the car ahead. Van Hout, using the MotoGP line, cutting the slipstream. And we've got 2 more laps to go, maybe even 3 more laps actually, because the race is so far ahead. I think it is just 2. We'll just miss out on the 3rd one, so that'll be good news for Guillaume.
Yeah, it's what, about 1 minute 29, 1 minute 30 round here, so I think that is going to be extremely close for if we are going to get another lap or not around here at the Nurburgring. And Jan Bol, Bernard, Van Hertz, Smart as well on the back of this, and Luke Swan, all going to be very, very involved in this battle, looking for any opportunity to get past one another. Of course, Jan Bol and Van Hert, the main protagonists, as they nearly make contact again, heading through turns 6 and 7, as they are getting so close. I think Bol might be pushing his luck a little bit. He doesn't want to push his luck any more than this, though.
Here we go.
He does. Yeah, this is it. potentially getting a good run out of that last corner. Bernard as well is going to be watching this very close. If they make it through wide, I will be shocked. Bernard, thinking smart though, does not make it through wide. Very late on the brakes from Jan Bol, but goes across the grass, and that's going to be a huge slowdown for Jan Bol, and he's going to slip potentially behind Deman if this slowdown is punishing enough. And well, that's what I was saying. Is it worth the risk? And he's drifting his way through the final corner. I think he's just about managed to serve it. But wow, that's lost him 3-4 positions and a good chunk of points as Bernard and Van Hut, the two teammates, now going wheel to wheel. This is going to be interesting. Bit of argy-bargy. Bernard's got a pretty terrible exit out of turn 1, to be honest. And still, round the outside, Van Hut. Hey, honestly, the Minister of Defence for Belgium, defending for his life against his teammate Jan Bol, and everyone else who wants to challenge this man for 6th place. I've never seen anyone so desperate to finish in 6th my entire life, but he's doing it, and he's doing it well.
Yeah, I mean, he's figured out the formula to keep your position on this circuit, and he just knows exactly where to position the car. Yeah, to defend the inside. And yeah, he's been able to get good enough exits. There's the timer, 20 seconds to go, but this will be the last lap. iRacing tends to err on the side of reducing the laps rather than extending it. So even if you're 5 seconds under, the lap will not happen. So here comes Dalton Zavadil out in the lead. No, he has forced another lap.
He has.
Wow, I am surprised by that. Usually, because he crossed the line, like basically maybe 17:58.
Yeah.
Usually iRacing doesn't give you the extra lap there, because it sort of predicts what the last lap will be, and it's usually quite pessimistic in terms of how fast you'll be. So, yeah, hopefully everyone's got enough fuel to do this last lap. And Zarazil, 4.3 seconds ahead. Costa did move past Hammer. Hammer, I imagine, lets him past a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, that's probably the least surprising thing to happen in this entire day of racing. Although, I got Koss and Christensen seem to be relatively close on track. Wonder if they'll end up fighting on this last lap for any positions, as Igor Koss has had a pretty good day. This is probably his best race of the season, just as an all-round day. He's been a bit unlucky, a bit unfortunate at times. But today he can definitely hold his head up high. I believe he got 3rd in his heat and potentially is going to get 4th in this A final. So very, very good day for Igor Koss.
Yeah, good work from him. He did all right back at Red Bull Ring, finished 3rd place overall in terms of points at least. But I think tonight he might outscore his total from that day. So yeah, really good points haul. But now this is it. No more laps, and he had enough fuel anyway. And he had more than enough pace. Costa is very slow behind. Zavadil wins this race. Looks like Costa is going to hand back the position to Philip Hammer, so that will lose Costa a few points in the championship. That's even better news for Zavadil, who goes into the final round of the championship with a significant margin. It will be a good result for Guillaume Van Hout. What a defence from him to finish in 6th place of the Pro-Ams. Swan just about beat Bol. Bol was coming back in the closing stages after his slowdown, but Swan with a decisive performance perhaps there. I think across the night he probably did outscore Lorenzato in the end. Despite scoring less points in his heat, he significantly beats him in the A final, and Swan will go into the final round of the championship with about 20 points to play with ahead of his nearest rival.
Oh, how quickly a day can swing with Luke Swan especially. Pascal Costa as well. I mean, the man was, in that B final for the first time this season. I mean, let's be honest, he did get up to 2nd place. I think he probably had the pace to beat Philip Hammer, but they just played the team game, and fair play. I think Costa probably realises that the gap is too big and just wants to be fair to his former champion, Philip Hammer.
Yes. That was, very honourable, but it was strange. I don't know how Costa got ahead of Hammer in the first place, whether Hammer, let him pass, perhaps, and be like, well, if you catch up to Zavadil, but, I mean, he was never going to catch up to Zavadil, so not entirely sure what the logic was for swapping around the places twice there, but anyway, Hammer managed to get 2nd place behind Zavadil. There was Costa, Koss, Christensen in 5th, Van Hout, Bernard, Smart, Swan, top of the AMS, Bowl, Deman, McBride, Makhmutov, Lawrence and Farrier in 15th place, 5 laps down in the end for Bernardo. Shame for him after a gear issue, and at least of all the hardware issues you can have, a gear shifting issue is the best one, because it makes you feel like you're a real life driver, because you think that you've got a gearbox issue, but no, it is just your faulty hardware which is letting you down in reality. No one is joining us for an interview at the moment, Aaron, but we can look ahead to the next round of the championship. Imola, finally a proper race circuit, eh?
Yep, it's taken us nearly 5-6 weeks for us to finally get to a proper racetrack. I guess some people could say Watkins Glen, but I think you described it as basically the closest thing you can get to an oval.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, considering that it's not even used in real life, like, as far as I'm aware, that layout is never used because, like, it's dangerous.
Very high speed.
So, like, yeah, it in my mind, it doesn't count too much. But we have now got an interview with a driver, and it is Dalton Zavadil, who joins us now for an interview. Dalton, congratulations. Let's take it back to qualifying first up, because obviously, as is the case for many of these rounds this season, qualifying is so important. It was a close one. I mean, it looked like Roger really put down a good lap initially, and you barely beat it. I mean, how did that lap feel, and did you think on the run to the line that you were going to beat it?
That lap felt really, really good. I wasn't too concerned about positioning in qualifying, just due to the kind of heat format with Heat 1 and Heat 2. With where Roger was, I knew he was probably going to be my closest competition today. I knew one of us would just come away with the win, either Heat 1 or Heat 2, and then we'd line up side by side with each other for the feature anyway. So it really all just ultimately came down to the feature race and who's going to come out on top in the first sector.
Yeah, and it seemed like a really calm battle. Do you think there was, or exciting battle, but solid driving from the pair of you? Do you think there was any way or anything maybe that Roger could have done in that A final lap 1 to pass you, or do you think you had it covered off all the way through there?
He probably could have been a little bit more aggressive into turn 3 and been a little bit faster there, but turn 4, once you get to the outside line, there's just no grip there. So as soon as I was side by side with him still after turn 3, I knew that I was just going to be able to keep him wide, and then I saw my teammate behind me in third. So I knew if I just held him to the outside and allowed my teammate to stick a nose into turn 5, that it would be rudimentary from there.
Yeah, well, it was really well executed. Dalton, congratulations on another race win. Is there anyone you want to go shout out to?
Yeah, thanks to Fiercely Forward, the team. Thanks to P1 Docs, best setups in the business. And then also, big shout out to my company, Z24R Racing, that we do coaching. And if anybody wants some coaching help in this very difficult car, I'm happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Dalton, and best of luck for the season finale next time.
Thanks. Have a good one, guys.
Dalton Zavadil, race winner tonight and championship leader with just one round of the season to go. Aaron, who are you going to drag up?
Well, I'm going to drag up the man who has given genuinely one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen in my entire life. And, well, Van Hertz, it's an absolute honour for you to join us here tonight. I mean, that was just an incredible performance by you and a victory in the Pro-Am class. Tell us how you're feeling after that.
Yeah, thank you. It was really a difficult race with Jan Ball. It was really a great fight. Yeah, this race was really, really long, and I do not know when this one will finish. But yeah, I'm really proud to have the first position because I need it for the championship. So yeah, I'm really happy for this. And
Yeah, so-
the fight was really close. I don't know what happened to Gumball at the end, but yeah, really good fight.
Yeah, it was a great race for you and the team as well. And yeah, just talk us through that battle between you and Bowl. Was it just some good fair racing between you two? Because I mean that went on for about 18 minutes. I mean you said it yourself. It was the longest battle. It was great stuff.
Yeah, really, I really try to defend really a lot because I know that if Jan Ball overtook me, I will never have the opportunity again to find a gap. So I really defend a lot, and it pays. So yeah, I'm really proud.
Yeah, as you should be. It was a fantastic performance from you and the team as well. Your teammate Bernard performing well in that race. Into the last round then. Next week we go to Imola, as Sam said, the first proper racetrack of this season. How are you feeling for the last round?
Yeah, it's a track that I really like. So I hope to do a good performance. But however, I really want to thank my team and my teammate because he also did an incredible job in the hit start from the last because of Corby ban. So yeah, he really done also a great job.
Yeah, he definitely did a fantastic job throughout all of today. Well, thank you for coming and talking with us, Van Hurt. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, my team and my teammates. Really thanks to them.
Well, thank you for coming and talking with us, Van, and good luck for the final round at Imola next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Van Hout's there, your winner in the Pro-Am Championship, or the Pro-Am race today. Next up, we'll have a chat with Boris Bitterov, who joins us now. Boris, was a pretty fun race out there for you today, particularly the B final that you were involved in as well. Yeah, talk us through some of the battles that you were involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. Got some real great racing. Was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I just outbraked myself in the first corner in the last lap, just a little bit, and then the bump caught me out, and I got a slight lockup on the front, which sent me wide. But yeah, great attack from Swan, I have to say. Just yeah, well done.
Yeah, he really put the pressure on you in those closing stages. I mean, what was going through your mind when you saw Dimbalay on the side of the circuit? I mean, did you realise that, hang on, I'm now in the top 3, I'm in the advancing spots, and and how did you feel like you coped with that in terms of sort of the pressure? Because I know for one that I'd start having a bit of a shaky leg in that scenario.
Not really. The main thing I had, I thought that I got a little bit too less fuel, which is why I started lifting in the 3 last laps. So there was my focus on that to just get the car over the line without losing fuel. Yeah, so yeah, that was why I just slowed down a bit, because I had to lift and coast.
And looking ahead to Imola as well, is that a circuit that you're looking forward to visiting?
Definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, I drove it in iRacing and I just love the flow of it. The chicane goes really well, not like in ACC. So yeah, I am looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one, Boris. Anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, to you again for making a great league like that, and I probably will also race in the next season if there is one. And also to my team, Firefly Racing. Yeah, so thank you to all of you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the kind words, Boris, and best of luck for Imola next week.
Thank you.
Boris Bitterov there, finishing 4th place in the B final. He was the driver who just narrowly missed out. I have looked at the points for the championship, Aaron, and it's quite interesting. Because it's not exactly how I thought. So Zavadil, I think, has he mathematically won it? I think Zavadil may have mathematically won the championship, but I'm not entirely sure. And if he does something really dumb, we can always disqualify him from the championship. So let's not count him out. He could just turn into a moron and do something really bad. In the Pro-Am Championship, Jan Bol heavily outscored Lane, but it was Lane's drop score. So the gap is 16 points going into the final round. But Bol has such a good drop score that, again, Lane would basically need to be on the overall podium next time out. And in the Amateur Championship, Lorenzato still outscored Swan, which I did not expect. But just the way that the point system works in the heats, you get a decent amount of points. You get more points for the A final. But he did so well in his heat, Lorenzato. He was able to outscore Swan by 9 points today. So the gap is down to 9 points into the final round of the championship. So the Pro is wrapped up. The Pro-Am very unlikely to change, but the Am is very much alive.
That is something I did not expect. 9 points.
9 points. So I can say, so Lorenzato got 39 points for his heat. Meanwhile, Swan got 24. So that was like a 15-point thing there. And then, yes, Swan managed to outscore him by 6 points in the A final. But I think it shouldn't be underestimated just how well Lorenzato did in his heat, and therefore scored a lot of points for that result.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that in those heats that if you finish higher up, you get a huge chunk of points. I was more comparing how far apart finish-wise they were, because I think Lorenzo also got 4th in his heat, and Luke Swan got 7th. And then obviously in that final race, it was 9th and 14th. So I was kind of looking at it that way, but yeah, fair play. It's incredibly close between those two now. I still think Luke Swan has the overall pace advantage, judging by Lorenzato's pace tonight. But who knows what either driver's going to turn up at Imola with next week.
Yes, yeah, who knows who's going to have the advantage. Certainly looked like Lorenzato had the advantage last week, had the advantage for the first half of today, but Swan able to recover some important points to still lead the championship. In the teams, by the way, it is Impulse Racing, pretty much with one hand on the trophy, despite fiercely forward, scoring good points once again with Zavadil and Farrier. Looks very likely that Impulse will be able to take what I believe would be their first ever teams championship. But that is all to be concluded next week. And of course, we will be covering that race once again, the season finale of Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup from Imola next Wednesday, same time as this week. Of course, if you've enjoyed this video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel as well. Check out all our future streams as well, coming up over the next few days. And also check out the Apex Racing TV social media as well. We've got some good clips over on there. So that is on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And of course, do check out our title sponsor, Apex Racing Academy, in order to get faster on iRacing. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Aaron Smith and from Samuli Kume, we will say goodbye for now, and we'll see you back at Imola in 1 week's time for the season finale of ARA Porsche Cup. See you then.